And on the beat, Narcan flow. Got my...
We outside. We outside with it. That temperature's getting hot, we die. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, cause we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. The Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. There's one west for that bag and we outside. We outside. I got the world in the palm of my hand. One west sleeve stretch, do it live on the gram. Had a whole world viewing, click and subscribe. Had them niggas off the block, tell them shooters they want a job. I just put them on the payroll. When I get control them, I just mold them like they Play-Doh. Soldiers giving halos, trying to get up at them pesos. 40 cows send you out of space, Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, leave you all boxed up, all cause my delivery. I be on that prime shit, take you time to get with me. Got me like Vladimir, treat you like the Ukraine. Raid your little city, now you boating like Usain. Scope costs more than the rifle, I got new aim. Fresh kick, spit with the blick, not my shoe game. Used to have a dirty 30 tied to a shoestring. Now I got that Ruger 5 and 7, that's my boot thing. That temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, cause we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. The Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. There's one west for that bag and we outside. We outside. That temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, cause we outside. Before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. The Glock loaded, extra mag and it's outside. There's one west for that bag and we outside. We outside. I don't talk hardly, be there when you call me. Send them Philly clippers at your head like a baldy. Chopper get the run down your block like a Harley. No, this ain't a big hog, this the big dog.
In your city, swinging through the jungle like it's pitfall. In the water wading, marching to my cadence. Big bursts of thunder in my hands like I'm reading. Shitty Mortal Kombat sounds, but I ain't playing.
Go, a big nigga out his shoe. Seen that nigga come back, pull up with a gun strap, rob everybody outside, told him run that. We out, that temperature's getting hot, we take it outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. My killers with me, you won't make it outside. Outside, yeah, we before the COVID had the mask and we was outside. My loaded extra mag and it's outside. It's one west for that bag and we outside. Outside, yeah, we outside. That temperature's getting hot, we get outside. You run your mouth up in this club, we take it outside. I got my killers with me, you won't make it outside. We outside, and we outside. Outside, yeah, we outside. We outside, yeah, we outside. There's one west on them corners and we outside. We outside with it.
Don't let them take you out, your spirit gotta stay focused. Can't go back living how I was, cause it's repulsive. I don't so much, this all I ever wanted. And not killing, die behind it, you can quote me. Yeah, these hoes for the streets, they ain't holy. I ain't pulling up the spiritual when devils kiss your boots. We ain't no cowards, please don't say what you gon' do. Or post something on the internet you think you gotta prove. Cause I got Karak Ice, I got Shia War, got Kasarpakai, I got Imawan, got Kabataban, I got Tazaba, got Kakamaima, got Karanyala, got Yaragabar, Tribe of Issachar, bring out Gobble War. Couple young men in this bitch with an olive oil. If you ain't in these ranks, then you out of order. It's a time for everything, right now it's time for war. And I'm still the same nigga when I'm not recording. I pull up, shoot from half like I'm Michael Jordan. I don't think they fit to join the Lord's army. I survived a Christian church, moral of the story. I done beat so many demons, I got war stories. Garment look so hardcore, look like I morphed on him. Appetite for battle, yeah, I'm war hungry. I ain't choose this life, the Lord chose me. I'm a certified priest and I don't take that lightly. How I feel about this shit, yeah, I can't describe it. I know they mad at me, cause I can't trust the white man. I gird up my loins and did something mighty. Yeah, what's done in private, it's gonna come to light. Speak the truth into these bones and watch them come to life. All my friends are dead, let loose all the plagues, yeah.
Live streaming can be tricky, and sometimes trying to find the right software to make streams look professional can be real. Like about StreamYard, that the user interface is really simple to understand and can give you a professional look without a whole lot of
Yeah. 140 yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the Rex get to it. Ain't taking no slack, get to it. You took a loss, try to bounce back, but you blew it. Let me show you how to do it. Undisputed, I can prove it. Prove one, we can do it. Nigga, ain't nothing to it. Ain't no cowards, ain't no excuses. Let's get to it. Ay. I don't care what they talking. All I want is my Porsche. I'ma ride up clean. Look at me. I'm a false one. Kill them off like a boss. Nigga, you better stop it. I'm all about my profit. I'm shooting off like a rocket. Who got to blow niggas out the water? He go harder, go harder. Steph Curry, fourth quarter. All I got is my niggas. All I fear is my father. All I bring is that slaughter. Bomb on the Pearl Harbor. He ain't real, he alive. If he real, who am I? Now his ass in the fire. You because till I die. Please don't cross the line. Try to stop and stop trying. Bomb shop is bomb wide. I'm on the grind. Let's get to it. Double time and believe. You ain't harming me, nigga. I brought a whole army of niggas. I ain't move with precision. Follow every order given. Let's get to it. Make it to it. You took a loss, try to bounce back, but you blew it. Let me show you how to do it. Undisputed. Ain't no excuses. Let's get to it. You hear the truth that I'm speaking. Lot of hate for no reason. Probably don't understand. That's why I got the plan. And all the power in my shit on demand. You better watch where you stand. You get flamed up and ain't changing up for nobody. They're warfare, what you know about it? This ain't a rap, this a message. And it will be respected. Fake niggas like a virus. Lot of niggas infected. I came to correct. Bought a whole bunch of soldiers. They move at my discretion. When the rebels hit the itch, all them niggas hit the exit. Them niggas get the sprinting. I demand your attention. Solid nigga, I ain't folded. Plus you know a nigga hold it. Nigga, look how I'm rolling. Shorty check my demeanor. He smooth, but I'm cleaner. Flow like Aquafina. Hit him running Seraphina. Yeah. I got a dilemma. I'm about to have a baby, but I still want a baby. Let's get to it. Nothing comes to a dreamer. I'm strictly getting it. I'm all about the business. Rock solid and relentless. You came to make friends. I came to make a kill it. That's why I'm gonna kill it. Leave these niggas hurting. I ain't smart nigga. Do you need a healing? I know you can hear me. I'm a vet, you a rookie. And Kanye, you a Donald Trump loving pussy. I'm a king, you a cookie. Ain't nothing you can tell me. I'm too ready. Let's get to it, nigga.
It's rolling on it. What is it?
Mic check, mic check. Yeah, most time correct. All right, we in Shalom, Israel. We the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start our 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. It's a Friday night Lashwan Qadash. Let's go ahead and give a hand for the Lord. All right. It's the Lashwan Qadash class. We do it every Friday, you know what I'm saying, where we get into our culture, our language, and break it, you know what I'm saying, break down these scriptures according to our language so that we can get a true understanding of what these scriptures are saying. It's like 1 second. Yeah, so we breaking down the Hebrew, right? Because that's the original language of the Most High that He gave to His people. You know what I'm saying? So we break down the Hebrew so that we can get a real live understanding of what the scriptures is actually saying in context, right? You know what I'm saying? The Christian church like to talk about context. You know what I'm saying? And even these fake Israelites, you know what I'm saying, which is basically Christians, but like, so they like to talk about context, but to get the real context of what the Bible is talking about, we have to understand this Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are of the scriptures, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter how long, you know what I'm saying, you've been a Christian pastor or whatever you think you are, or an evangelist, or, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case is. If you don't understand this Hebrew, then you don't understand the real spirit of the Most High and this Bible. Because this Bible was translated from Hebrew. And even though the Hebrew, even though the New Testament was translated from Greek, the people in the Bible is still talking about Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are the Hebrew-speaking Israelites. You know what I'm saying? So even as you translate words in the New Testament, you still have to apply the spirit of the Hebrew, which is the initial tongue, you know what I'm saying, which was taken away from us during captivity. So that's why this class is so important, you know what I'm saying? We do it every Friday, you know what I'm saying? It's what separates, you know what I'm saying, the ISUPK from all these other, you know, one of the many things that separates the ISUPK from all these other fake Israelite groups that stole, you know what I'm saying, what was passed down, the knowledge that was passed down to us, you know what I'm saying? They stole us, no sweat. We're gonna get right into it, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna start with the Hebrew alphabet. You know what I'm saying? There's 22 characters. A lot here. Make sure you have 22 characters. It's A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Cha, Ta, Ya, Cha, La, Ma, Na, Sa, I. Pa, Taza, Kwa, Ra, Sha, and Tha. Right? So, you know what I'm saying? We've been doing these classes for a while now. You know what I'm saying? So you should definitely have these in your notes, the Hebrew alphabet at the least. You know what I'm saying? You should have the Hebrew alphabet in your notes, so you know what I'm saying, at home, follow along, you know what I'm saying? Get it in your notes, get used to, you know what I'm saying, get comfortable with the Hebrew alphabet. You know what I'm saying? So that we can compound on our knowledge. Right? As always, you should have a Bible, of course. In any class, you should always have a Bible. It's like a King James Version Bible with the Apocrypha, whether it's together or separate. You know what I'm saying? And you should also have a strong concordance. Zondervan Bible Dictionary, you should have that with you. You should have a strong concordance with the Hebrew dictionary attached, or whether it's separate, you should have a concordance and a Hebrew, Greek, Hebrew to English dictionary, a pen and paper. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you have your learning tools as we get started, right? So we just went over the Hebrew alphabet. You know what I'm saying? We should be very comfortable with that. Tonight, we're going to piggyback off of what we learned, what we started to get into last week, which was body parts. You know what I'm saying? So just, you know what I'm saying, just to start off with, you know what I'm saying, we just trying to build our vocabulary, right? So just talking about things that we use every day, that we see every day, you know what I'm saying? Shalom Christ. Or just starting off with things that we use every day, you know what I'm saying, we see every day, being able to identify things in the Hebrew, right? So we're going to briefly go over what we went over last week, and we're also going to go into a new topic, right? Which is also going to build on our vocabulary further, right? So, and what we learned last week, we're going to kind of use this week with what we're going to learn, right? Because we're going to, after we learn this new topic, we're going to compound on, let me get rid of this. We're going to compound on what we learned last week and practice forming sentences based on what we're going to learn this week. Now, what we're going to learn is how to form questions, right? So, the foundation of, you know what I'm saying, questions are built on who, what, where, when, and why, right? And we're going to talk about how also, but we're going to save that for the end. But any question that you're going to have to communicate with your brother or your sister is going to be built on who, what, when, where, and why, right? So we're going to learn how to say each of these things, how to write it in the Hebrew, and how to apply it in practical usage, right? Because that's the whole point, right? For us to learn all these words and all these phrases, these prepositions, possessives, and all of that, is for us to use it with one another, right? So we're going to learn how to say these things and then learn how to apply it in real life. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we're just going to get right into it. So off top, right? We know how to use the, you know what I'm saying, we went over that a little bit too last week. We went over a review on how to use the tools that we have to find out words, right? So we should already know how to use the strong concordance with the Hebrew Bible dictionary, Hebrew Greek, the English Bible dictionary. So to find any word, you should be able to go right into that resource, find that word, and be able to apply it in a sentence. So start off, we got who, which is Maya, right? Let me make sure I'm right. All right, so we got Maya, which is written like, you know what I'm saying, as I said in past classes, you know what I'm saying, I tend to write in the Assyrian because it's the one that we're most unfamiliar with, because the ancient is easier to remember, easier to understand usually. But I advise brothers and sisters to write in both, right? who, Maya, right? Next, we got what, which is spelled like number one word, Slacky. We got what, which is pronounced ma. Next, we got when.
Okay, so the idea was that how did now? Sorry.
Make a little bit more room. Yeah. So when, bear with me, ma, ya, Salakia, for the lack of space. Now where, right? And then lastly,
Trust you.
we got what? Now, for the past couple classes, right, we've been just going over, we done went into the scriptures a couple times. We done went into the prayers. We went over the Lord's Prayer, the Hakak, the power. We then went over possessives, prepositions, all sorts of things, right, to kind of build on our ability to be able to recognize root words, right, while we're reading the scriptures. Now, this right here, knowing who, what, when, where, and why, it's going to go ahead.
In English. You wrote in
Oh, yeah,
English.
you're right. Most time, Christ. Hold on. But knowing these things is gonna help us be able to form conversation, right? So usually conversation is built on questions, right? Okay. I'm gonna put it on there. I was gonna ask, but I'm gonna ask this all the times. All right. just knowing these who, what, when, where, and why, it's gonna help us be able to form sentences, be able to communicate with one another, right? So, who, my, ya, what, ma, when, ma, the, ya, where, ya, and why, ma, the, why, right? Now, we go, you know what I'm saying? Once we can commit, or once we can add this to our notes and add this to our belt, you know what I'm saying? We'll be able to communicate with one another using the things that we already learned, right? So we're gonna go back to what we learned last week, right? Again, we talked about the body parts. So I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna start off easy. Do you say hand? Right? We remember from last week? All right. All right, no sweat. Well, okay, let me put it like this. Okay, so give you a hint. Have an officer in the school named Blessed Hand.
Barack.
So
Yeah.
how do you say what?
Barack.
La.
Yad.
Right. So hand would be Yad. So that was a good guess. So as we learned last week, Yad is hand, right? So we're gonna, as we review from last week, we're gonna try to apply some of these concepts and how to, you know what I'm saying, form sentences, right? So, and we're going to use a couple prepositions. We're going to throw a couple prepositions and possessives in there too, right? So we know hand is yad, right? So how do you say, okay, so I say, okay, so we write with our hands. So some people are left-handed, some people are right-handed. So you would ask somebody like, okay, what hand do you write with? So according to what we just learned, what we just put in our notes, how would you say what hand? Right, good.
My yad. Oh, yad.
No, you were right the first time. Most times correct. My yad. Right? Absolutely correct. My yad. Right? Now, to answer that, let me see. Okay. What's good?
What you said what hand you write with?
Right.
Would my yaka be?
Well, we gonna get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that. I see where you're going. So I'm gonna ask. So okay. So the question that so the question that we're answering is, what hand do you write with, right? So the question would be, okay, so you're saying we know that we write with our hands, right? So I write with my hands. Okay, so now I'm asking you, what hand? And we would ask by saying, my yard. What hand?
Right.
Which hand, right? Now, go ahead.
Which is not a thing.
What hand?
No, I'm just saying. You don't want to put that one at the time. Which?
Well,
WHICH.
No, we're actually going to get into that later, because in the scriptures, depending on how it's being used, what and which, or depending on the context of where that word falls, that word can be interchangeable, or it's gonna just say ma to imply what or which, right? And we're gonna get into that. We'll get into that later. If we got time, let me see where we at. Yeah, we should make it. All right, so we got what hand? Now we're gonna say. Now we're gonna ask where's your hand, right? So like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're talking to a child, or I'm gonna switch it up, right? So last week we went over a couple of the body part words. How do we say nose? Do we remember from last week? Nose, like nose. Like when you're talking to your child, when they first learning, right? You'll be like, where's your like? No what?
I was saying la. When you tell him that y'all know.
Okay. Now I'm saying where, like you, when you're talking to your child, you will say, "Where's your?" You know what I'm saying? Where's your nose? Where's your eyes? Where's your ears? Trying to get them familiar with words and learning how to identify their, you know what I'm saying, body parts, right? So when you're teaching a child, right, we're gonna do it the exact same way we would do in English. So when you're talking to a child, you would ask them, "Where's your nose?" Right? Now, how would you say that in the Hebrew? First of all, do you remember how to say nose in the Hebrew? Okay. Okay, no sweat. Do we know how to find out how to say, or how to find the word nose in the Hebrew? Right. So you would either look into the concordance, or there's a couple ways to do it. The most efficient way is to look in the concordance because it usually has a Bible dictionary attached. But you would look into the concordance, or you can look into, there's an app on your phone that you could get, KJV Strong's with concordance, right? And you could just search it. Search, you know what I'm saying, whatever words you want to find. In this case, it'll be nose. And then it'll give you a scripture or a part in the, you know what I'm saying, a scripture in the Bible where it'll tell you where that word is being used. And it'll also give you a concordance code behind the word. So you click on that, it'll tell you exactly what you need to look for. You could do that with Strong's, KJV Strong's with concordance is the best one. Should be a purple app or a purple book. Or you can go to the Bible Hub or Blue Letter, the you know what I'm saying, the apps that we use for Sabbath service. But with that, you would have to just know what scripture has that word that you're looking for in it. So that takes a little bit more digging, but the most efficient way is to have a Strong's concordance, either on hand or. Let me take mine. I'm trying to say it here. But that will be the most efficient way to have a strong concordance on hand. And it's good to practice too. I got you, sis. It's good to practice too, because then once you get used to using the resource, then you can go boom, boom. Like the strong concordance is in the beginning, so you go to the beginning. All right, this is the word I'm looking for. Boom, I found the word. And then you go right to the back, get to that concordance code. What you got, sis?
Apa.
Say that again.
Apa.
Apa.
Apa. For nose.
Oh, okay. I see what you go. It's close. It's op, right? Yeah.
Okay.
What is it?
Op.
Like an op.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, so how you spell it?
What'd you say, sis?
Op.
Oh,
I was
before.
saying apa.
Right. That's how you spell it.
Oh, okay.
Apa.
You drop the A though at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So AHP.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's how you say nose in the Hebrew. Right. Now with that, how would you say when you're teaching your child, where's your nose? When you're going through it.
Yes.
You want to give it a shot?
No, she got it. She got it.
All right, let's switch. Go ahead.
Aya up.
Say that one more time.
Aya up.
Close.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Close. But you got to remember, we're putting a, what's the word?
Oh.
We're applying a person. We're applying. I don't want to give it. I want to say it without giving it to you. But we're applying a person behind it now. Now it's relative to a person. It's specific. So we would have to add a
what? A one?
No. Go ahead.
Preposition?
Right.
Oh.
It's a. Oh no.
No.
Slash.
Okay.
We will be
A possessive.
adding a possessive. Right. Get that sister hand.
Oh,
Because now we're making it specific to somebody. It's not just where's nose, it's where's your nose, where's my nose, where's his nose. So now we're going to be applying a possessive to, so where does the possessive go? Raise your hand, but
In the front of the word.
it,
Beginning of a sentence, like I
a
am.
possessive
Possessive, sorry.
at the,
At the end.
right,
Like
right,
apostrophe
exactly.
S.
Of nose, right?
Of,
Nose.
I gotta raise your
Oh,
hand.
sorry.
But what you said was gonna be my next question. Where does the possessive go in a sentence? Go.
So to be aya apka.
Well, first, where's the possessive go in a sentence?
In the sentence.
Yeah, in a sentence. Like if you're forming a sentence, where's the
You attach to the noun, right?
right, right? Yeah, that's most time correct. Yeah, that's just the room. That's right. So, with that being said, now how would you say where's your nose? You had your hand up or you? Okay. Okay, go ahead, sis.
Would it be aya apka?
Damn right. Exactly right. So that's just it's real simple to form sentences, you know what I'm saying, using these words, right?
So it's ayaka. I mean, what is it?
Aya, ka.
Okay.
Right? Aya, where, ka. Now, where's my nose? I know it sounds silly. But now we're going to say, where's my nose? Right? Because we want to teach the children. Because we didn't come in the truth off the top. We about, you know what I'm saying, we came in the truth in our 20s, 30s, 40s, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But our children are being born and raised in the truth. So now we have a great opportunity to be able to teach them fresh when they're first starting to walk and talk and being potty trained. Now we can teach them, you know what I'm saying, our language on top of the oppressor's language that they're going to need to know to be able to operate in the oppressor's kingdom, right? So that's why we're doing this. I know it sounds silly, but this is something, if we really love the Lord and we really love, you know what I'm saying, the truth, and we want the, you know what I'm saying, we want our kingdom to come, we're going to have to instill it in our children, right? So, what was we? So, okay, so we got, where's your nose? Aya, ap, ka. Now, how would you say, where's my nose? Right? Good.
Aya apka.
Right. It's just that easy, right? And we know that because ka, the preposition, or the possessive, which goes at the end of a root word, we know right here, ka is you or yours. And we know that ya is me or my in a sentence, right? So it's that simple, right? Now all we have to do is just build our vocabulary. So now we can apply different root words into a sentence to form, you know what I'm saying, different sentences, right? But y'all got this in your notes, right? You don't need me to, I'm good to erase this? Okay.
I got one more.
One more at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, next one. All right, I'll leave the bottom there. All right, but that's the whole point, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? This ain't for show, like, you know what I'm saying, these fake Israelite groups. Where they, you know what I'm saying, they wearing Magun, I don't know, mixed up. Magun, Dawada and all that joint, and you know what I'm saying, they saying Shalom or Shalom or whatever, you know what I'm saying, just to sound like they got the truth, and then they really don't understand the Hebrew, how to read it, how to speak it, or none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole point is to, you know what I'm saying, be able to apply it. Right? So, from here, right, we're going to be able to just build our vocabulary from things that we already learned. So we're going to take another word. We're going to take another word that we already should, you know what I'm saying, recognize off top, right? So we recognize this word, right? All right. Want to give it a shot?
Abba.
Right. Meaning what?
Father.
Right. So knowing Abba means father, now communicating with a sister or a brother in the, you know what I'm saying, in the truth, or in, you know what I'm saying, in the truth, you know what I'm saying, we familiar with the Hebrew, we, you know what I'm saying, able to communicate with one another, you know what I'm saying, Lord willing, then to vet a brother out, to vet a sister out, you know what I'm saying, we would ask off top, okay, well, who's your father? They're not sure who they are, what tribe they belong to, whether they're Israel or not, you know what I'm saying, or what nation they belong to. The first question off top is, who's your father? Right? Or, you know what I'm saying, if, you know what I'm saying, if you're a brother and you got an interest in a sister, or if you're a sister, or if you're a brother and you interested in a sister, you would ask, who's your father, right? Second question. First question is, you off top always want to ask, is the sister married, right? That's always the first question. Second question, well, who is your father? If you have an interest in a particular sister, right? So these are things that we use amongst each other in the truth, right? So in real life application, so that we can now communicate with one another in the Hebrew rather than the English in the heathen's language, based on the notes that we already have, how would you say that, right? Instead of saying, who is your father in your oppressor's language, whether it's Spanish, English, or whatever it is, how would you say that in the Hebrew? You want to give it a shot? I see.
So it's gonna be mud, yeah. I'm missing the middle. The is. So it'll be mud. It'll be mud, Abba.
Right. Because you're talking about who is your father, right? So you about 3/4 of the way there. You right there.
Maya Khan.
Say that again.
Maya Khan.
You're close too. You're forgetting the root word.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Oh, Maya Abba Khan.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's just the hand. Maya Abaka. Who is your father? Now, to your point, our language isn't like the heathen's language, where we have, you know what I'm saying, all these filler words and, you know what I'm saying, all these extra words. We right to the point. Like, our language is like, it's just very, like, okay, direct translation. So, like, just like how we speak today. Like, we don't, you know what I'm saying, we don't be like, excuse me, madam, who is your father?
Right.
No, that's not how we communicate with one another.
Right.
We're like, hey, who your father? Who your father?
Okay, correct.
Yeah, what's your nationality? Where you at? Where you from? Who you is? You know what I'm saying? That's how we talk.
Okay.
And that's not by mistake. It's like, you gotta.
Okay, so if I ask somebody, it'd be Maya, Abba, Akkad. When I ask, that's it right there? Akkad at the end?
Abba.
Abba.
You said, say it again?
Abba, Akkad?
Abba Ka. Right?
Abba, Akkad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That's when you ask somebody who's different.
Right.
Okay.
Who's your father? The suffix or possessive ka
Okay.
means you or your, right? So I'll write it in Hebrew. Abba. I'm gonna write the suffix in red so we can see it. That's the wrong one. And just while we're on the topic, just note that in the Assyrian, the last, if there are a couple characters in the Assyrian that end with a different character. So I was about to write it like this off the top of my head, but that would have been wrong. I don't know if that. See the right. So if I were to write it like this would have been wrong because this isn't at the beginning or the middle of a word. This would now be the ka that extends past the line, right? So if you're writing on a piece of notebook paper, just to make it clear for visual purposes, right? This would be the line that you write on. That ka would extend past, you know what I'm saying, the line. So, Maya Abba Ka, right? And notice that we separate the root word. So, we got Maya, and then we got Abba, and then Ka. We don't say Abak, right? And usually, with the word, like, let me see. I'm gonna use your name just for the sake of familiarity, right? So we got a bond. It's made up of three characters: ba, and na, right? Ba, na. We write it in English. You have ba, and na. These are the three characters. But usually when you're talking about a root word, you would connect the last two characters and pronounce them together. So instead of ba, na, you would say ban and drop that last sound off the end to make it, you know what I'm saying, to complete the word, right? To form the word. So instead of abana, you would have aban. Now, what we do when we read in the scriptures, we'll see a cluster of Hebrew characters, and we'll just want to pronounce them either one by one, or we'll just make a random, you know what I'm saying, we'll seal the word at a random point. But when we're reading the scriptures, you'll say each root word individually, right? So, Maya, that's how that word is pronounced, right? So, who, Maya, and then aban, because that's a root word, and then you pronounce the suffix separately. So maya aban ka, right? That's how you make the Hebrew easier to read and understand. Once you're able to identify, like, oh, there's two prepositions here, or one preposition here. You'll say boom boom, and then you'll pronounce the root word, and then there may be a suffix attached to it. So you'll pronounce the preposition, and then the root word, aban, and then ka, the possessive at the end. All right, so now, how would you say, oh, let me think. I don't use the same. All right, so to say, how would you say, just for practice purposes, right? I can't think of any example where you need to say this, but just for the sake of practice, right? How would you say, what is my father? To identify yourself as far as tribe or nation, right? So if you're trying to, you know what I'm saying, you're just coming in the truth, everybody, you know what I'm saying, everybody want to figure out what their tribe is, right? In the Hebrew. So to find that out, you'll go to a seer or the men above you or the priest, you know what I'm saying? Be like, okay, according to the tribes, according to the, you know what I'm saying, the inheritance, who is my father, or what is my father? Salakia. What is my father? Right? So you will tell the priest or your camp leader or whoever is vetting you out and be like, okay, well, my father is this, that, and the third in the world, you know what I'm saying, or in English, right? So what is my father in the Hebrew? So how would you ask that in the Hebrew based on the notes, right? Or let me give you a different example. Salakia, not to throw a curveball. I don't want to keep using the same examples. What is his father? So say you Shamar, right? You like, hey, look, ain't no heathens in this camp, ain't no heathens in this classroom allowed, ain't no heathens in this feast day. But it's a brother over there at the barbecue, and he looking a little suspicious, right? You go to the you know what I'm saying, go to Officer Ron, like, hey, Salakia. Or you go to Saran, be like, hey, Salakia, sir. Who's his father? What is his father? You're looking suspicious. You got something?
Ma Abawa.
Ma Abawa. Most High in Christ. Exactly. Ma Abawa. And the slick thing about it is, like we talked about last week, right? Like we talked about last week. You know what I'm saying? We go to these, you know what I'm saying, the sisters, you know what I'm saying, go to the hair shop, or the hair salon, the nail salon. You go to the nail salon, the hair salon, and you know what I'm saying, the Africans running it, and they over here, they speaking in they heathen language, right? And they right in your face, you know what I'm saying, they saw, you know what I'm saying, they got your feet in their hand, you know what I'm saying? They do that all day. That's their occupation. But they got the nerve to talk smack about our sisters and our brothers right in our face. You know what I'm saying? We go into their little corner stores, and you know what I'm saying, we go in their corner stores and we shopping with them. We spending our money with them, right? And they got the nerve to be talking smack about our brothers and sisters right to our face. Like we're not the Most High's chosen people. So with that, especially on a security level, you know what I'm saying? Or just like we speak in code all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? We walking through the grocery store, and you know what I'm saying? We see an Edomite over, you know what I'm saying, in the corner acting crazy. We like, look at that Edomite, crazy Edomite over there. Now we talking about Esau, right? And Esau don't know we talking about Esau, but amongst brothers, amongst sisters, amongst wives, husbands, children, all of that, we know that we talking about Esau, but they don't know they biblical Hebrew name. So that's the significance of being able to, you know what I'm saying, do this right here, especially on a security level. It's like my abawa. You just, and then you know what I'm saying, to them it sound like gibberish, you know what I'm saying? But to us, that's a very important security detail. Who's his father? Who's his brother father? And then your can't believe. Now, how would you answer? Well, Salaki. Salaki. I'm gonna say that for another class. But the officer above you, you know what I'm saying, the security, the head of security, or the, you know what I'm saying, the captain, he'll respond like Abawa Esau or Abawa Adawam in the Hebrew. Esau, or Abawa Aparaim, which is Ephraim in the Hebrew, or Abawa Ham in the Hebrew. We don't get into that in the different class, but that's how we gonna be able to communicate with each other and still keep the security tight. You know what I'm saying? Where, you know what I'm saying, this heathen, you know what I'm saying, who might have snuck into our barbecue, he over here eating a hot dog, you know what I'm saying? He thinking everything cool, you know what I'm saying? He chilling. And he like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I'm up in here, you know what I'm saying? And then we like, you know what I'm saying, ma abawa. And then he get examined, he get you know what I'm saying, he get vetted out. And if it's a breach, you know what I'm saying, it ain't gonna be no breaches up in here, because we, you know what I'm saying, the ISUPK is very, very, very good at weeding out heathen. Right. But, you know what I'm saying, that's it on that. I don't want to spend too much time on that. So we went over what? Who is your father? Where? What? Right? So let me see. I might just give this.
So, right.
What's good?
So if you want to ask, so that's us asking each other what is his father? My Abawa.
I'm Slacky. Say that one more time.
So you trying to figure out somebody's father? That's are you asking that person? That's just me. That's me. You say me. You talking.
Yeah, that's what that is. Me and you talking.
Okay.
And like you asking me, like, hey, who is his father? Who's his father? You know what I'm saying? I'm putting it on myself. Say I let a heathen in. You know what I'm saying? And you like, as a head of security, you like, hey, my Abawa. And I'm like, Salakia. You know what I'm saying? Abawa, Aparayim.
Right.
And you like, all right. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And now you know his father is Ephraim.
Okay.
And now he's not a heathen. I'm like, I don't know. I bet not say Abawa Adawam or Abawa Ham. Then, you know what I'm saying? Brother in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Let a heathen into the feast day. And yeah, that's gonna look crazy. But all right, so we're gonna use another one, right? Just for practice. We just practicing, right? So in the, you know what I'm saying, for example, you know what I'm saying, we just saw the men above us, you know what I'm saying, they just posted the new calendar for the feast days, right? Right? So beforehand, right? Because you know this calendar, you know what I'm saying, this calendar is coming to a close, you know what I'm saying? I think we got what is it called? The Feast of Dedication, and then we got Purim, and then next year starts, you know what I'm saying, the next feast day after Purim is the Passover, which starts the beginning of a new year, right? So we know from, or let me make it simpler, right? We make it simpler. So the Christian church, because the Sabbath is a holy convocation. It's something that's supposed to be recognized according to the Most High, right? So Christian church has some confusion on that, right? So I think the Sabbath or the day of rest or the day of worship, like they say, is on Sunday because of the Greeks. They are sun worshipers. But they worship the sun, so they think that the day of rest is on Sunday, right? So once you're coming into the truth, like, okay, we're going to teach you it's not Sunday. Okay, well, if it's not Sunday, then when is the Sabbath? If the Sabbath isn't Sunday, then when is the Sabbath? So how would you say that in the Hebrew? Right? So we know how to say Sabbath in the Hebrew, right? Mm-hmm. Shabbat. That's right. Most time praise. Most time praise. Now, if you're talking about, get that priest there. I'm gonna go a little bit further because you brought it up earlier. As a hint, you brought it up earlier. Now, if you're talking about a specific, because all the feast days are a Sabbath. Right. It's a day of rest. You're not to do any servile work therein, like the scripture said in Leviticus 23. All of the feast days are a Sabbath according to the Lord. Now, if you're talking about a specific Sabbath, then how would you say, like, for example, we just observed the memorial blowing of trumpets, right? Now, if you're talking about a Sabbath, a proper with a name, right? How would you say that in the Hebrew? You're talking about a Sabbath day with a name. So Purim, Feast of Memorial, the memorial blowing of trumpets, the Feast of Dedication, Feast of First Fruits. How would you specify that particular Sabbath, right? So I'm gonna use, for example, memorial blowing of trumpets, because we went over it before the memorial blowing of trumpets in the scriptures. Let me see where y'all at with it.
So what's the question you asked?
So let me put it on the board just so we don't. So we got Sabbath in the. We got in the Hebrew. This is how you would say Sabbath in the Hebrew, Shabbat, right? So I'm not sure where all these other fake Israelite groups get Shabbat Shalom, but that's not how you say Sabbath in the Hebrew. That's how your oppressor says it. Shabbat. That's how it's said in the Hebrew, pronounced properly. Now, if you're talking about, okay, so in the scriptures is where, so the word for remember or to remember is zakar, right? Zakar. So in the scriptures, let me see. In the scriptures it says Zakarwan, Zarawai. Zakar is the name for memorial or remember. Zakar Wan makes it a proper noun, meaning a specific memorial. Zarawa I is it's an alarm or a sounding of a trumpet. So in the scriptures in Leviticus 23, and I believe around 20, I think 30, says Zakar Wan. So like I want to give it to you. Okay, so I'm gonna give it to you like this. Go ahead.
Question.
Uh-huh.
Are we going by this Zakar one, which means remember, or we're going by also the Makora'ah as well? With that for convocation rehearsal?
Right. So like you, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Are we using for the question you're asking? Are we using Zakar alone, or are we using Makora'ah as well?
Salakia, we're using Shabbat. How we would turn. Okay, so in the let's go to Leviticus 23.
So how would we identify which Shabbat, which day of rest?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Which
Right.
feast day?
Yeah. How would we turn? Basically, what I'm asking is how would you turn Shabbat into a proper noun? Let's see. And I pretty much just gave it to you just now. Okay. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 24 in the Hebrew. All right. So it says, and you shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets. That's the exact verbiage. So in the Hebrew, I don't want to give it to you. But you have, okay, what you got, sis?
That's the Zakar, the Wara'ai, Ayah.
Right. So after this word that I'm looking for right here. So based off of how you turn Shabbat into a proper noun, right after that it says Zakarwan Thara'ai. Right after that. So Yahweh then the proper noun for Sabbath. Okay, let me break it down like this. How do you turn any word into a proper noun?
One.
Right. So how do you turn Sabbath into a proper noun?
Shabbat one.
Right. Right. Give yourself a So you got one, right? Shabbat one. So the complete direct translation from the scriptures is Yahweh Lakum Shabbat one Zakar one Tharawa I.
Oh.
Right. So that translation is, or it's like a Yahaya. You shall have Sabbath, which is, so Sabbath in Hebrew is Shabbat, but now we're talking about a specific Sabbath, a day of rest, a specific day of rest. So it goes from Shabbat to Shabbat one, and the name of the Sabbath or Shabbat one is Zakar one Tharawa I.
Is it the Wara'ai or just the Wara'ai?
Tharawa I. So now that we have the specific feast day, or we're talking about, okay, so whether we're talking about a Sabbath, just the Sabbath, just you know what I'm saying, the seventh day, whether we're talking about the seventh day Sabbath, or we're talking about a specific feast day, Shabbat one, how would you ask the men above you if you don't know, just hypothetical, if you don't know when the Sabbath is or when the feast day is, how would you ask?
Mataya Shabbat one.
Right. Mataya, damn right. Give yourself a hand. Damn right. Mataya Shabbat one. Salakia done. Mataya Shabbat one. Right. But
So when we ask questions like about memorial or blowing of trumpets, we don't necessarily say memorial blowing of trumpets. We say the Shabbat one. We say day of rest, pretty much.
so when you say Shabbat one, you're asking about when is the next feast day. So you're not specifying which feast day.
Oh, okay.
And that's usually going to be followed by what feast day,
Right.
right? Because you don't know.
Okay, gotcha.
But if you're saying the specific feast day, you'll say Shabbat one, Zakar one, Tarawa I.
Gotcha.
Let me see where we at. Make sure we get on time. All right, no sweat. So we got, okay, so this is how you would, just to reiterate, this is how you would ask when, or slack it, when is the Sabbath, or when is the feast day, right? Mataya, slack it. Mataya, slack it. Mataya Shabbat one, or Mataya Shabbat, depending on how specific you're being. Right. So, just to go back, right? How would you say, okay, so where is the feast day? Where is the feast day being held? Where is the feast day, right? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Last year we had a couple feast days in Houston, in San Antonio, we had a couple of Killeen. I know Austin is holding some. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're in another city, you know what I'm saying? Where is the feast day? Right? So in the Hebrew, how would you ask that? Go ahead.
Ayah Shabbat one?
Right. Damn right. Ayah Shabbat one. Where is the feast day? It's gonna be in Houston, it's gonna be in Austin. What's the address? You know what I'm saying? That's how you would ask in the Hebrew. All right. Now we're starting to form sentences. Now you can apply. Make sure we went through all. So I think we left out one more. Let's go over this one last one. All right. So when is the feast day? Mataya Shabbat one. Where is the feast day? Ayah Shabbat one.
So, like the feast days, like it doesn't matter because it's all holy days. That's why they say Shabbat. That's why they say Shabbat because it's more direct.
Okay, so any feast day is a day of rest.
Okay.
So that's what that word Shabbat means. It's just a day of rest, right? Or it's like it's did I say Shabbat or Shabbat? Yeah, that's
Shabbat.
okay. Most I'm correct. That's what that word Shabbat means. It means day of rest. Now, if you're talking about a feast day, a high holy day, you would say Shabbat one.
Okay,
because you're being specific. You're naming it.
Okay.
So that's where that one comes in. So usually Shabbat one in the scriptures will be followed by the Hebrew name of that feast day.
Okay.
So in Leviticus 23, verse 24, it'll say, regarding the memorial blowing of trumpets, it'll say Shabbat one, Zakar one, Barawa'ai,
Yes.
meaning memorial blowing of trumpets.
Okay.
That's only when you get specific. But if you're just saying when is the Sabbath, you'll just say Shabbat. Now, last one before we move on to the next joint. So we're gonna use the word. We're gonna use this word right. All right, so we got da, ba, and ra. Right. Another word that we should be familiar with using, right? Da, ba, and ra. I'll give it a shot. So we got da, ba, and ra. Put it together.
Oh. Da, ba. The bar.
Right. Damn right. So we got debar, which means what? You remember what that means?
The bar means speaking.
Damn right.
I like that.
Yes. In this thing. In there. All right. So you said speaking.
Right.
More specifically, you were right. The word means to speak. Now, next question is, how would you turn it into speaking? Based on your notes, based on what we talked about in past classes?
The bar one.
Close.
Oh, would be Lashwan?
No.
Oh,
no. No, we still using the same root word. Okay, without pronouncing the word, what would you do to the word to turn it from speak to speaking? What would you do? Would you add anything, take anything away? What would you do?
We add W-A-N. No, W.
Right there. Let's give it to you. I'll give it to you. It's right there. What you got, sis?
Ending in wa. The
Close.
word ending in wa.
Close. You do add a Y, and I think that's what you were trying to say.
Right.
But, okay, so the example that you used, you said Lashwan.
Right.
That's an example, but it comes from a root word, Lashwan. So to make Lashwan, to turn it from tongue to now you're speaking a tongue, you would go from Lashwan to Lashawan. So now we got the bar, like you said, you add a wa, but where do you put the wa? So in Lashwan, you go from Lashwan to Lashawan. Now we got the bar. How do we turn the bar into a ma abba? Who's father? So now go ahead.
Before the second or third character.
Right, right, exactly. So the bar turned into
The ball one.
close. Da, but okay, let me put it up there real quick. Go ahead.
Ah, you already put up there.
Well, no, we already know where to put it. You already said it.
War.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
Double war. So now we're saying we'll go from speak to speaking, or right? So now let's see. Okay, I think I'm trying to think of another example. Let me think. It's a lot. Bear with me. No, we're just gonna roll with it, right? So we got double war speaking, right?
right.
Right. Now, how would you say why or why am I speaking?
My dub.
Or well, go ahead.
So it'll be my dub wine.
All right.
My dub wine. Damn.
Move this over.
My dub wine. I forgot how to say it.
So now you got it. I gotta rewrite this anyway. I'm gonna give you a little second. You said my the why.
The ball. Oh,
You walking through the door. I hear you.
the ball wide. No.
I hear you knocking.
I forgot how you say it. I'm speaking.
Ma the why, right? Da ba wa ra. And just remember, you connect those last two.
Da ba. Da. You say da ba. How you pronounce it again? Da ba ra.
Da ba wa and ra, and you connect the last two.
Oh no.
You just said it.
Yeah. Good night.
Just said it.
The ball war.
Double war.
God dang, that's right. Double war.
Right. So Mado. Okay. So this sentence right here, Mado why double war is why speaking, but we haven't made it specific to anybody, to you, to me, to him. So let me say, how would you say why are Okay. So let me see. Why are we speaking? So why are we going to camp? So we're gonna ask a rhetorical question right now. So why are we speaking? Why do we go to camp? Why are we speaking at camp? If this was a class setting and we were on a podium and we were at camp and you're just asking a rhetorical question, right? Why are we speaking? Right? Because of people on the street, you know what I'm saying? They want to know why they're getting yelled at. You know what I'm saying? Why they feel like they're getting yelled at, right? Why they, well, you know what I'm saying? Why we coming out here dressed up and, you know what I'm saying, in our garments with these headpieces on, boots and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Why are we speaking? Right? So somebody, you know what I'm saying, might have that question in their head, but because, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, we so militant, they might be afraid to ask it, right? So we might just address it rhetorically on the podium, right? So we'll say, why are we speaking? Right? So how will we ask that rhetorical question? Right? Does that make sense?
Sir. I'm trying to think how I would say it.
Okay, most of that correct. Okay. Let me get rid of this up top too. This kind of we done with this. So, why are we speaking? Right? We'll give a shout out.
Fine, sir.
What you got?
Mada wa I the double warwa.
Close. Now, okay, so how would you, in the Lord's Prayer, how do you say our Father?
Double war on. Double war. Double.
Okay, so at the end of class, when we say we're about to do the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew, we face the east, and then we say the first word we say.
Abba now.
Right. So we know that Abba is what?
Father, and Nawa is our.
Exactly. So the word Nawa is our, us, or we.
I was okay. You're right. Kind of sad.
Now you was close though. What you got?
I the war Nawa.
Right. Damn right. Give yourself a hand. And that's, you know what I'm saying, that's great, you know what I'm saying? But this is the purpose, you know what I'm saying? That's the whole purpose of us doing this, right? We're gonna have to, because this is our native tongue, but it's not something that we're used to speaking. So a lot of times we'll have the answer in our head, but saying it out loud it'll be a game changer. It's like, I don't know if you ever, like, you know what I'm saying, in high school, you might have to do a speech or something, or you have to do like a report. And, you know what I'm saying, you got what you gonna say in your head, or like for the brothers, the priests, you know what I'm saying, you about to do your camp speaking, maybe it's your first camp speaking, your first class or whatever, and you got whatever you about to say in your head all organized, and then you get up on that podium, and then it just don't come out like you thought it was gonna come out, you know what I'm saying? That's why, you know what I'm saying, we have to practice putting this, you know what I'm saying, practice using this tongue, you know what I'm saying? So we got Madawai, the Dabawar Nawa. And how you did it was perfect, right? Because we know that once we have a root word, you pronounce the root word and then you add the possessive. So it won't be Dabawar. I don't even know how to pronounce it wrong. Dabawara Nawa, right? Because we'll see that in the scriptures. We'll see that in the scriptures, and that's how we want to say it because we see all these words together. But you identify the root word, you pronounce the root word, Dabawar, and then you add the suffix Nawa, Dabawar Nawa. Madawai Dabawar Nawa. Why are we speaking? Right? When we're speaking to teach Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American true identity according to the Bible. They are the Lord's chosen people. just to answer that rhetorical question. You know what I'm saying? So who's at camp asking that? You know what I'm saying? Who's at camp asking that question? My Dawai double war now. Or we was talking to a young man, you know what I'm saying, one of our young soldiers, you know what I'm saying, a lot of us, you know what I'm saying, we officers in the truth, but a lot of us who have sons who are going to be growing up to be aspiring officers, we can teach them the Hebrew. So now that they're young and speaking the Hebrew, they'll ask you in Hebrew, Salakia, Abba, Madawai double war now. So we at camp and we asking our father, Salakia, Abba, Salakia, Adawan, Madawai double war now. Why are we speaking? And then you can tell your son, double war now, such and such and so you can break it down in the Hebrew. That's the whole purpose. But 9 times out of 10, if we do this right, if we really love the Lord and we really want the, you know what I'm saying, we really believe in what we say every week, every day, you know what I'm saying, then our sons and our daughters will be speaking the Hebrew, right? And they'll be, you know what I'm saying, they'll ask us questions, who, what, when, where, and why in the Hebrew. And we'll be able to reply in the Hebrew. That's the whole goal, right? So just to give a little context on the, you know what I'm saying, did you, I know you was doing your what's it called, your security check, right? Would you ever get that last part, the why?
Oh, you say the war. You say the war. Good night. The war war.
Double war.
Double war.
Right. Yeah. So my the why double war. Now, why are we speaking? So I just want to make sure before I go on to the next thing. Let me see. Oh yeah, the water said. All right. We got a little bit of time. All right. So before we close out, now the sister asked about which, or she asked about which, right? And why it's not up there. Well, a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, these words are interchangeable, right? So what we said? What was the example? So we was talking about what hand or which hand. What hand and which hand means the same thing in English. So it means the same thing in Hebrew. So my yad, what hand, means which hand, right? And that applies for how, right? So you might have noticed, just like the sister noticed I didn't put which up there, you might have noticed that I didn't put how up there. And it's for the same reason. Right. It depends. No, you good, sis. But it's interchangeable. It depends on the context. So in the English, you might see how in the scriptures, but depending on the context, like, okay, let's see in the strong concordance, right? So you would go to how, right, in the scriptures or in the concordance, right, in the main concordance in the front, find the word how. Now it's just like how you would look up any word. You would go to the word that you want to look up. Look at the concordance code. That's going to be on the right-hand side. Now, with most words, you're going to see a universal concordance code that's usually, like, you might see 1 or 2 different ones throughout, but for the most part, it's going to be flooded with the same concordance code. And that's the word that you're going to use for that word, right? That's usually the case. But if you notice, if you look at how, it's going to be on page 531 it's going to be the last word, right? But if you look at the word how, it'll have several different concordance codes right off top. Off top. So you got 349, 4100, you got 335, you got 5704, you got all these different concordance codes, right? We're gonna look at a different, it's like we're gonna look at a couple different ones just to, let me put this up here. We're gonna look at a couple different ones just to give a little bit of, just to give an example of what we was talking about in the beginning. All right. So if you go to, let me see, because if you look in the concordance, so on the right side, right, it'll have the concordance codes. If you look at the left side, it'll have the reference, the scripture, book, chapter, and verse, right? So if you go to any one of the concordance codes, it'll tell you the context. For example, if you go to Exodus 2:18, it'll say that word, or it'll say how, right? So if you look through it, you see it'll say, let's just go to the scripture. Let's go to the scripture real quick. Exodus 2:18. It says, so it's talking about when Moses first fled Egypt. I'm going to read it first. Exodus chapter 2, verse 18. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? So it's talking about Moses, right? When he first appeared, you know what I'm saying? When he first fled Egypt, and where was he at? You know what I'm saying? He was in a strange new land, right? And he was dealing with the flock, the people who was coming to feed the flock or to water the sheep, right? To water the herd, right? You know what I'm saying? They came back because he had aided them, right? So the sheep herder, he was like, how is it that y'all are coming? How is it that y'all are, how is it that ye are come so soon today? So brothers obviously like, hey, how y'all back so early, right? So that's the question. Now the word being used in English is how, but if you look at the concordance code applied to this definition, it'll give you 4069, which is madawai, which is, we just went over it.
Why, sir?
Right, is why. So you can apply that word. So it's the English says, how is it that ye are come so soon today? You can, in this context, what's meant is why, right? So the I can't remember if it's a heathen or not, but the sheep herder, he's asking, why are you back so early? Basically, right? So how can be applied in it could be applied in different ways, right? So it could mean what, or it could be used as what. It could be used as, sometimes it'll say how long, how many, how, you know what I'm saying, whatever. Those the surrounding words can also change the context of what's being used in that specific verse regarding the Hebrew. But in the English, it'll say how. All right, so that's why, you know what I'm saying, you'll see who, what, when, where, and why, but things like how, which, what's some other ones, but things like that, how, which, you know what I'm saying, things like that, they're, you know what I'm saying, they're not up here, you know what I'm saying, because they can be interchanged with any of these who, what, when, where, and why. So just to answer the sister's question, let me see. What we got left? I was gonna, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna close out right there. I was gonna go into another topic, but we're gonna save it for next week. But you know what I'm saying? Just like we did today, you know what I'm saying, just to give a little bit of homework. Just, you know what I'm saying, go through, by this time, you know what I'm saying, I think this is probably about, you know what I'm saying, about 30, well, I don't know, about 20, 30 weeks worth of Lashwan Qadash. So that means we got a list, we should have a list of root words, we should have our possessive, prepositions, and a compilation of notes at this point, right? So what I want y'all to do is just take these questions, who, what, when, where, why, and practice asking questions. You know what I'm saying? Practice applying these words to root words that we already learned. Practice applying it to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially with our children, right? You know what I'm saying? Especially like last week, we went over the body parts. Practice going, where's your nose? Where's your ears? Where's your eyes? You know what I'm saying? Applying these question words to a root word or to a, you know what I'm saying, to build a sentence. Where's your nose? Where's my nose? Where's his nose? Where's her nose? And, you know what I'm saying, just practice doing that. Practice writing it. Practice saying it. And, you know what I'm saying, that's how this kingdom is going to get built. But with that, you know what I'm saying, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh Shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Barakathon. To the brothers, to the sisters, Shalom, Yahweh Shema Latham Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And we're gonna see y'all next week.